Hey, welcome back, everyone. We're on another episode of In the Community with Dr. Matt. And today we're actually talking to Shannon from MPower. So, you know how this goes. I always want to hear about interesting people and what they're working on and what their passion is in the community. So, welcome, Shannon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to finally connect. And
Yeah,
I'm glad we could do it over remotely over Zoom today. But
absolutely.
do you want to tell people a little bit about yourself and what you're working on in your program?
Absolutely. I'm Shannon, and I run the Empower program here in Halton Hills. I have three kids, aged 5, 7, 13, and this is something that I work with, youth anywhere from ages to 16 to 6 to 17. And we provide programs that teach new skills and instill confidence and build resilience. And we really touch upon, all kinds of topics and issues that youth today are dealing with. Mental health is a big component of what we discuss, and we provide tools to help them manage stress and consider their own mental health. We also talk a lot about body image
Yeah.
and how, again, we can provide some resilience to negative influences around us in regards to body image and learning to love
Okay.
ourselves. This is something that I do with my kids. My kids love the program too, and I just love being out in the community, meeting, inspiring people and community leaders who all have this huge interest in just bringing this community together and making our youth population as healthy as it can be, for the future.
I love it. So
Thanks.
how did you like when you got started? Did you do some sort of like is this some sort of carryover from something else you used to do, or how did you put these ideas together so that you could help kids?
So I'm a police officer down in the city,
Right.
and when I was younger and brand new on the job, I noticed that there was a lot of youth that were really struggling, and I could tell that they were struggling because they just didn't have supports in place to help them be confident in themselves and make decisions that were healthy for them. They kind of just fell into groups that perhaps were involved in risky behavior and drug abuse and stuff. And so when I saw this, and then when I became a parent myself, I really had this need to do what I could do to help prevent some of these youth from going down the wrong path and from living these unhealthy lifestyles because of external influences that weren't the
Yeah.
best. And so then when I was in my late 20s, I was a single mom with my oldest, and I really found that I couldn't find any programs to help support me in the lessons I was teaching my daughter. I was trying to get across to my daughter. I found that as much as you can tell your kid, do this, do that, sometimes because you're the mom, they don't listen.
You
But
have to
as
have
soon
like
as they
third party verification.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They need the outside messages that support the things that I'm, as a mother, am saying. So I wanted to be that for our families. I wanted to be that other voice to kind of reinforce these messages that were being taught at home. And of course, having some life experience now, and having
Yeah.
three kids and everything, it was something that was really important for me to do. And so I took it upon myself once my youngest was in school and I had a little bit more spare time, that I was able to put this program together. And when I work as part of the training unit down in the city for the police department, and a lot of what I do is mental health training.
Right.
And so I was able to carry over some of these resilience building pieces, bring it over to our youth, and teach them the same strategies on how to advocate for your own mental health and recognize when there's something that's not right and overcome stigma so that they can talk about it, reach out, and get help when they need it, whether it be from their parents or another trusted community or adult member. Just having the confidence and the ability to come forward and ask for help when they need it is so important.
Yeah.
So there is certainly some carryover from my other full-time role, and the reasons for putting this program together was based on my initial experiences as a young police officer on the street. And I really, again, becoming a mother really just reinforced that is exactly what I wanted to do. And it was really important work that needed to be done. And so I've thrown my heart, my soul into it. And I just love what I do. And I love the young ladies that I work with and their families. And it really is, it's a process that needs a lot of hands to make work, but I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and I imagine it, like, confidence is that muscle you have to constantly train, right?
Yes.
So for them, like, they have a safe place to talk to you and with their peers when they're in the group.
Yes.
And
so we have
a
weekly group that does that. Sorry. Yeah, our weekly group is one that it's a consistent group of girls that meet every week. And a lot of the girls that come to the program are lacking, some strong peer supports and perhaps some communication skills and just that ability to have a voice. And I find that with the weekly group, especially since it's the same girls, they build confidence, they build that comfort level, they find their voice. And it's amazing to see the transformation from day one to the end of our session together. Just that it's incredible to watch.
I almost like what you're telling me, I feel like is so pivotal, like from here up, because everything else falls together, right?
100%.
In terms of where you want to go in your life and what you want to do. Right. And I think that, like, even over my years of practice and being a dad, like, the confidence part is huge. Right. And if you can strengthen that and help them, flex that muscle, that's a big thing. Right. You can see I couldn't say no to my kids, right? Yeah. When they're trying to paint all my nails. But,
I love it.
Yeah. But
it's a good shade of purple that they
it's
chose.
a good shade.
I like it.
You should see the toenails. My goodness. But I think, like, really what you do is so pivotal, right? And I always talk about, the importance of, not just adjusting someone's spine, but adjusting from here up in terms of their mindset. And that's what I feel like when I'm talking to people, if you can help them the way they shape and understand the world, and you're getting them at the most impressionable ages when you're seeing kids, right?
And when they're most vulnerable. Yeah, they're definitely vulnerable at that age. They really take everything that they hear as fact, right? Yeah. And they internalize it and they mull it over. And, again, you're right, they're impressionable. And so it is the right time to step in. And some of them are going through transition, right? And going through transition from childhood to adolescence to adulthood. Those are really tricky transitions to make. And if you don't have the right supports in place, that's where we can sometimes get lost. And so that's what I want to be, is I want to be that safe place. I want to be that steady resource for these girls to come to and say, hey, Shannon, I'm having an issue with this. What do you suggest? Or in turn, parents coming to me and saying, hey, I'm having a really hard time communicating with my daughter or my son. What is something you can suggest that you feel has worked or that other parents have tried that would work to kind of open that pathway of communication? And, a lot of the work that I do is just one-on-one. In the evenings, I'll call up one of my parents, or my parents will call up me, and we'll have a frank discussion about what they're experiencing. And then we figure it out together. So it's being that peer support for the parents just as much as it is for the girls.
Yeah. And showing up consistently for them as a rock.
Definitely. And in this time right now, just, I'm Zooming some of my girls, when they're feeling a little, a little stressed out, and they need to see a familiar face, right? Because they're stuck inside. Yeah. Then I can provide that as well. So I do a lot of Zooming with my girls and my parents too. And it's been nice to rely on one another and come together and connect in a very stressful time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Really neat. Is there anything, I'm going to ask you, like, just before we sign off, I want to know, what's one tip maybe you can give to a parent? Since you brought that up, I'd like to, there's probably many parents watching. What's one tip you would give to a parent who, is struggling with that communication factor with their, let's say, their early teenager? Is that something you'd see commonly when you talk to?
Oh, yeah. I think because there's an expectation from parents that their kids are always going to be the same. They're always going to behave the same. Their reactions are always going to be the same. Their interests are going to be the same. And then from youth perspective is that they are wanting to be treated more of an adult than they are being treated a child. And so there's this weird, as I said, that weird transition time where, you know, there's youth that feel like they're being treated like a child still when they want to be given the opportunity to be treated with, you know, a little bit more freedom, perhaps given the opportunity to prove themselves in the responsibility level.
Okay.
And so I think as a parent, you have to be okay with letting your child take some risks and fall down sometimes, safely, of course, but we have to give them the opportunity to prove themselves, because otherwise, how else are they going to do it? And picking your battles is a huge one. And I find a lot of parents, because they're so used to raising this young child who really needs so much guidance and so many rules and this and that, that when they hit a certain age where maybe that's not quite the best way to approach, you know, a young adolescent, youth, tween, teen, is allowing them a little bit more flexibility, picking your battles. What is worth you fighting over? Not, and fighting is the wrong word, but, you know, really fighting to keep in place. And then what other rules and expectations can you let go of for your own stress level too? I mean, for you to be picking every little battle and fighting it to the bitter end is no way that you want to live. And your teen will probably start to shy away, shy away because they're constantly feeling like they're being nagged as opposed to being given freedom and the respect of an adult. And I always have this rule that I will give you freedom. I will give you opportunity. I will give you responsibility, but you have to prove to me that you deserve it. Okay. And as long as you deserve it, then you will be given a lot of opportunities and a lot of freedom because I trust you. And that trust is huge. But it's scary sometimes to venture into that zone.
Take that leap of faith.
It is, right? It's like when you leave your kid home alone for the first time. It's like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready, right? But you have to show that you trust them so that they want to prove that they can be trusted. And just the open communication. And the biggest thing too is understanding that your child is not you. They don't have to have the same interests as you. They don't see things the same way you do. And that is awesome. And that's great. And we have to support that.
The differences.
Yes. Yeah. I find there's a lot of parents who expect their kids to be like them or live vicariously through them. And that's just not the reality. Just because they're yours, you know, genetically doesn't mean they're the same as you. And to try to see things from a different perspective is difficult. But if you can do that with an open mind, then things can go very smoothly when it comes to communication.
Yeah, it opens up some communication and brings everyone's stress level down a little bit.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then for a teenager, for a young teen, what would you say? Like who's someone who's wants to learn how to say no better or struggling with their confidence, or is there one mental exercise that you share with people, or is there a safe spot to go find a friend? Like how would you describe a teen who needs to help build some confidence? What's one simple thing they can start practicing on rinse and repeat every day?
Yeah, saying no is really hard to do. I find I haven't even mastered the art of saying no. I'm getting better with it, but saying no is huge. Yeah. Advocating for yourself for sure. I find that there's a big issue with teens and bullying and the feeling that, they aren't good enough or that they're being picked on or that they're constantly comparing themselves to others. And it's reminding our teens, especially because they're the ones that seem to be more vocal about the bullying, is just remember that bullies and those who are not being very nice or fair, there's usually a reason for it. And that reason is typically that they are dealing with some stress. The bully themselves is dealing with stress, or, there's always another side to the story. And as hard as it is when somebody is being mean, calling you names, picking on you, it's for something that's not your fault. It's not your fault. There's something that's going on at home or with their family or within their friend group that is causing them a great amount of stress. And this is how it's manifesting itself. And so trying to be empathetic and, rather than saying, oh, this person is very nice, is thinking, I feel really bad for this person because they're going through a hard time right now. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm the one taking the brunt of it, but I feel bad for them. It's not something I've actually done. It's not a weakness in me. It's not a flaw in me. It's just I happen to be here taking the brunt of it. It's not right.
Yeah.
But to start looking at it from an empathetic viewpoint and realizing there is something seriously going on with this person to make them act this way. It's like an iceberg, right? And
you see the tip.
This is a really bad picture of an iceberg, but yeah, you can only see the tip, but there's so much more going on underneath. And so an activity that I do with some of my girls in a one-on-one is we will draw an iceberg. Yeah. And, if there's a particular person they're having an issue with, we look at the tip and we talk about some of the things that we see, some of the things they do that we don't like. And then the base of the iceberg, we pick up on what are some reasons why this person might act this way? Do you think that they're struggling in school? Right? Do you think that maybe they're having a hard time learning? Do you think maybe they're not getting enough good food to eat? Do you think maybe they're not sleeping well? Do you think that maybe they have a brother or sister who's sick? Or their parents are going through a divorce? And so once you start putting all these possibilities in place, and sometimes we know and sometimes we don't, then it kind of makes a little more sense as to why they're acting that way. We don't take it so personal, and we're able to be better. We can be more resilient to the effects of bullying.
And I'm sure it helps the people you work with to build empathy for those people who are bullies, which I think is a great exercise.
Definitely.
Yeah. Good.
Yes. Good. Yeah. It's and just to draw the picture of it is helpful too, right? Visual learners. So.
Oh yeah. Versus auditory and all the other kinds of learning.
Exactly.
Is there anything else? I mean, that was great. Is there anything else you want to share or you want to plug in there before we sign off?
The biggest thing for any parents who are struggling, either with their own mental health or, their self-image, the biggest thing I can say is reach out and help yourself to be as healthy as possible, because you are the one that's demonstrating these behaviors for your child. Yeah. And so if you can show them that you can be resilient and demonstrate how to be a good person and how to be confident and to make wise, healthy choices, then the chances are your child, whether you believe it or not, they are watching you and they are absorbing everything that you do. And so if you feel you need some help and some extra support, reach out. I'm here, and, I'm always here for my parents just to bounce ideas off of, sounding board.
That's great.
I'm not perfect, but a lot of things we can work through together.
And you're there to help lead them through.
Definitely. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, that was beautiful. Thanks for sharing that message with everybody. We had a lot of good gems in there. I'm going to post your links in the show notes. Perfect. And by the way, Shannon is a sponsor of our Ronald McDonald House Fundraiser and Step Challenge. So thank you very much for being a part of it. Yeah, it's a pleasure, a real pleasure to help however we can. So. Yeah, I appreciate it very much. Yeah. And we'll sign off for the day and say bye to everybody. And it was great having you on. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments below. If you like the episode, please leave a comment below as well. Otherwise, we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye for now. Bye.